Hi, let me show you how to make this pancake stack cake, which is so easy and super fun to bring to a party, especially potluck. And for this cake, I'm going to use Satin Ice fondant, which is the best for this cake because it's so soft and stretchy and easy to roll. And we need to color it to this flashy color, so just add some tiny bit of brown and yellow, that's it. The actual sculpting part of this cake is very easy. You just need to get a piece of fondant and roll a sausage, which should be long enough to go around the cake. And with Satin Ice it's so easy because it's so soft. And I want to be imperfect, so I'm even using my fingers to roll, so it's not like straight sausage. And then you just wrap around the cake, and you see I didn't have enough, so you just stretch it, which is super easy. And I like this easy, realistic kind of cakes because they are so forgiving. Here you go, you've got your first pancake. And now you just need to enhance the shape a little bit. When you fry pancakes, you can tell it's made kind of like from two, like bottom and top part, and there is like indentation in between them. So I'm using this tool to just create this indentation. And you can use a handle of a paintbrush or something, you don't need special tools. And here I realized that we have an issue. The sides of our cake are straight and we roll round sausages. So when we will stack these round objects against the flat surface, we will have gaps. So I just decided to make a thicker sausage and just cut it in half. This way I will have the same round pancake on one side and a flat surface to place against the cake. And I will need to spend twice less time to roll them, which is also a bonus. And I also have a little helper here. I was making this cake very early in the morning, but my kid decided to wake up and help me. So sorry about the weird noises. And this time my sausage was longer than I needed, so I just pinched the excess and that's it. And the only mistake I would say I was making, and you should avoid this, you should make sure your ends are thin. So like when I pinched the left part, it was thin, but my right part was so bulky. And if you do both of them very thin, you kinda will hide the end pieces, which I didn't. And probably I was distracted because I made so many of pancake cakes before and all of them turned out so cool and I never noticed the end pieces. And here is a little close-up for you so you can see how perfectly imperfect my pancakes are. And then again I'm using this tool to create this middle part. It's hard to explain, but when you fry pancakes, this middle part is a little more raw, less fried, and it pulls inside. That's what we want to do, and we later will emphasize this with paint. We just don't want this part to be very straight and very even. It should be uneven. And that is basically all you do until you reach the top of the cake. You roll, you cut, you wrap around, and so on and so on. It's a very relaxing work, I would say. And for this cake, it's 7-inch. I had to use 1.5 pounds of fondant, which is obviously a lot. But it's very easy to peel off and don't eat if you don't like it. But for me, this cake is more about the design than about the cake itself. It's more like a statement. You come to the party and you bring this cool cake and everyone is like, wow! And finally, our last pancake. It will be the whole one, so you need a large piece of fondant and I roll it. And my idea is that the center is thinner and the edges are thicker, because I don't want to put the whole thick piece of fondant on my cake. Why? Right? So what I'm doing here is kind of like a pizza stretch. So I stretched the pancake and now my center is a little bit thinner. Not as much as I would love to, but enough. And here, this pancake looks a little larger than the rest, so I'm just pushing it inside, and this way my edges even more thick, which is what I want to achieve. So basically, I'm trying to make the top pancake look cohesive and in size with the rest of the cake. And again, I'm using this tool to create the ridge and that's it. And I cannot stand these end pieces, oh my god. But the front looks good, right? Check it. And finally, the fun part, we're gonna paint our pancakes. And we're going to use the same colors and some vodka or Everclear, which is what I prefer, not prefer, I don't see a big difference. It just I had some Everclear. Everclear is 96% proof alcohol, which evaporate faster than vodka. So basically, if I need it to evaporate a little slower, I'm just adding some water. That's what I did here. So I added a drop of my brown and drop of yellow on the side of my glass, and this way I can adjust the intensity of the color. And I made these tiny pancakes to test, and you can see nothing is happening. I need more color. And about these little pancakes, it's my leftovers because I colored more fondant that I needed, and that's what I encourage you to do too, because it's really hard to match this pastel color, especially for me. And these little pancakes were my test ones for coloring and decorating, and birthday boy loved them a lot, because you know when you get a cake you have to wait to eat it, but you can have your little treat before. And I'm showing what basically we're gonna do. We're gonna color the top and the in between the pancakes. And my color was a little just brown, and I wanted it to be more warm, so I added a little bit of orange. I think the painting is the most important part of this cake, because we did some sausages around the cake. Now we need to paint it to look like pancakes, right? And very often artists don't show this part because it's boring, but I think if you as me struggle with painting, it will be more useful for you. So I was just adding the color in between the pancakes, and I realized I need a larger brush. It's hard to show on camera, but in person you will see that when you add the color, you get a lot of liquid on your brush, and you go in between the pancakes, and you will see that when it dries there is some variety to color, because it looks like watercolor, and the edges where it goes, it looks a little darker. So it's a really cool effect, and I wanted to utilize it. That's why I needed a larger brush. So I painted in between all of my pancakes, and now it's time for the top part. And I started with a brush, and you can see how when the liquid is absorbed by fondant, it dries unevenly, and that is what we want. We want imperfection, because whoever saw ideal pancake on your pen. And when I was doing it, I got a little piece of yellow, and you can see here that it's very different color. But I decided to just embrace it and use a sponge to distribute this color and create more variation. Then I added more brown to my mixture and went even deeper to emphasize shadows and a space between pancakes. I even used undiluted airbrush color because I didn't think the one I made was enough. And here's my little pancake coming handy again and allowing me to test the color and not ruin the whole cake. Also, let's talk about other options. I think you definitely can make this cake using buttercream, just pipe the shapes, but with the painting, here the physics and chemistry does all for us, but with buttercream you will really have to mix all the shades. And I find it so much easier with fondant. And now I'm just adding details using these ball tools. You can use toothpick, anything. And you can add as many bubbles as you want. It's your pancakes, however you fry them. Off camera I made some butter, which is just modeling chocolate pieces colored in light yellow color, and some blueberries, which were super fun and easy to make with scissors. And you totally can use fresh blueberries and real butter, why not? And we're ready to make our syrup, which will be 1 tablespoon of gelatin, 3 tablespoons of water, and some other liquid. You can use maple syrup, you can use any other pancake syrup you like. I didn't have anything, so I used corn syrup and molasses. Unfortunately, if you are not going to serve your cake immediately, you cannot just pour syrup on your cake. That's why we need to use gelatin, so our drip, it will last longer and it will be visible. So I'm just mixing my corn syrup and molasses to create a nice brown color. I decided to not use any food coloring, and I found this hack how to make your own maple syrup, kind of like. And it's about the same amount. My gelatin has bloomed and I just microwaved it to heat it up, and I'm mixing two parts together. And because my corn syrup was cold, it was hard to incorporate them, so I had to heat them again together. You just mix it and you create a lot of bubbles. That's why I decided to use a strainer and strain the bubbles. And after that, the liquid is ready to use. And all you need is to find the right temperature. It cannot be too cold or it will start to solidify, and it cannot be too hot or it will be running down the sides. The perfect one is around 30-35 degrees Celsius. The moment of truth. It's so scary because you know when you do something and you can ruin your whole cake, right? So I started to pour my gelatin, and at some point it was perfect. You see this nice juicy drips, but then I had leftover mixture in the jar and I decided, yeah, I should use it all, right? Why not? And that's where it went wrong, and it leaked down the cake board. But it's still fine. If my temperature was a little lower, I think it would work. But anyway, you can just wait when it will set and remove what you don't need. And that's it. And this is the final cake, and the sun was so pretty. The rare sun in Seattle was so pretty that day. And I hope I will get you inspired to make this cake. And thank you so much for watching.